There are people who are already intelligent on their own, but when they meet the right person, they suddenly become exceptional. Not because the other person teaches them anything new, but because simply being around each other activates their minds at the highest level. These are the rare pairs that make you feel, ever since I met this person, I think deeper, speak better, and focus more when I work. The following zodiac pairings were born to make each other smarter, not to change one another, but to complete each other. And who knows, maybe the person you've been looking for is somewhere in this list. Gemini and Capricorn. One is like the wind, quick to think, quick to speak, and just as quick to change direction. The other is like a mountain, calm, steady, and unmoved by fleeting trends. At first glance, they seem like opposites, but that's exactly why they're drawn to each other. Gemini is the kind of person who can throw out a dozen ideas in a single evening, yet gets easily scattered. Capricorn, on the other hand, has the ability to filter, organize, and patiently follow through, even with the smallest details. This is a duo that makes few promises, but takes plenty of action. Gemini opens the door to creativity, while Capricorn turns that into a measurable, structured plan. One sees the big picture, the other places each puzzle piece exactly where it belongs. In love, they don't try to change each other, they inspire each other to grow. This isn't the impulsive kind of love that says, "Whatever you want, I'll give it to you." It's the kind that asks, "Who could we become if we truly tried together?" At first glance, you might think they clash, one being so spontaneous, the other so disciplined. But in truth, both signs are deeply intellectual. Gemini communicates through thought, Capricorn through structure. Their ego isn't about control, it's about respecting the other's independent thinking. That's why, when they're together, it's not about who decides, it's about how well they decide together. In work, this is a powerhouse pairing. Gemini can read the market, the media, and the mood lightning fast. Capricorn quietly builds systems, sets up structures, and protects what's been built. One is impulsive and stirs the waters, the other steady and keeps the ship afloat. But when they move together, they can ride out storms without sinking and travel farther than most. You can recognize a Capricorn by the seriousness in their gaze, the way they listen more than they speak. Gemini, you'll be drawn into their stories within the first few minutes. One lives through logic, the other through language. One dives deep into the details, the other connects effortlessly with the world. And you know what? Sometimes it's in the tiniest moments that you realize, I need this person. For example, you're a Gemini going on and on about a project, rattling off 10 directions and 5 promotional ideas. The Capricorn beside you just listens, not interrupting, and then they ask, very gently, if you had to invest your energy in just one thing, what would it be? In that moment, you go quiet, not because you ran out of ideas, but because for the first time, someone made you slow down and think deeper. It's not the feeling of being corrected or judged, it's the feeling of being upgraded. Someone helping you use your own intelligence more clearly, more effectively. And here's what makes it even more special. The year 2025 marks a time when Pluto transitions between Capricorn and Aquarius. It's a phase of intellectual awakening, personal growth, and long-term vision, especially if you're brave enough to connect with someone entirely different from yourself. Gemini and Capricorn aren't two perfectly matching pieces. They're two unlikely pieces that somehow unlock an entirely new map when they meet. If you're a Gemini, try being just a little more patient with a Capricorn. And if you're a Capricorn, allow yourself to open up just a little more when a Gemini starts sharing their endless stream of thoughts. Because sometimes, what you're missing isn't inside you. It's waiting for you in someone else. Have you ever met someone who made you think differently, act differently, live differently just by stepping into your life? If so, tell me about it in the comments. Who knows, maybe that person is the other half of the mind you've been looking for. Virgo and Pisces. One sees the world through analysis, the other feels the world through the heart. Virgo is always alert, detailed, and grounded in reality. Pisces, on the other hand, is dreamy, sensitive, and easily moved by the unseen. At first glance, you might think they can't possibly work. One constantly asks, "Where's the proof?" while the other simply says, "I just feel it." But strangely enough, if they stay together long enough, they become one of the most empathetic and intelligent pairings. Virgo keeps Pisces from drifting away into illusions. Pisces softens Virgo, helping them believe in things that can't always be measured. They're like a piece of music with both rhythm and melody, structured yet soaring. One asks the right questions, the other answers with heartfelt truth. They don't talk to argue, they talk to understand. In daily life, Virgo is the one tidying up the desk, organizing the schedule, reminding their partner to eat on time, and checking all the little details. Pisces is the one writing poetry, playing music, and scribbling diary notes on the bathroom mirror in the morning. They live differently, but if they love each other, each day becomes a step toward mutual growth. Virgo learns how to let go. Pisces learns how to stand firmer. You'll often see Virgo hesitate when stepping into love. They don't want to get it wrong. Pisces, on the other hand, believes in love from the very first glance, and sometimes ends up hurting themselves. But when these two meet at the right time, what happens is not logic overpowering emotion, or emotion overwhelming reason, but a rare kind of balance. One brings decisions that keep them safe, the other brings feelings that make them happy. There are also an ideal duo for healing work, therapy, writing, teaching, or creating soulful art. Virgo gives form and structure to Pisces' ideas. Pisces helps Virgo believe that not everything has to make perfect sense to be worth starting. There's a small story like this. A Pisces once shared that her Virgo partner wasn't romantic, didn't say "I love you" every day, but one day, when she was crying alone in her room, Virgo didn't ask questions. He simply made a hot bowl of soup, placed it at the door, and said, "You don't have to be strong right now. Cry if you need to, then eat something and get some rest." Pisces said, "That was the moment I knew I had found someone who made me feel safe in my most vulnerable state." In 2025, with Neptune still in Pisces and Saturn also present, relationships that blend reality, spirituality, and emotional depth will be strongly supported. And Virgo, as Pisces' opposite on the zodiac wheel, becomes the perfect mirror, reflecting and completing that energy. The more different they are, the more they help illuminate each other. So if you're a Pisces, don't be afraid of someone who seems overly logical like Virgo. They might not hold you tight all the time, but they'll always remember what you like to eat, what you're allergic to, and what you need when you're sad. And if you're a Virgo, try trusting someone you don't fully understand. Because maybe they didn't come to unsettle you, but to help you believe in what feels gentle. Have you ever loved someone who taught you how to relax? Someone who, for the first time, made you want to protect something with both your logic and your heart? If so, tell me your story. Maybe you've lived through the frequency of Virgo and Pisces, even if you don't carry either sign. And if you're a Pisces still listening, don't leave just yet. Somewhere else in the zodiac circle, there's another kind of connection waiting for you. One that doesn't offer calm through logic, but gives you trust through a soulful adventure. And we'll meet that person at the end of this video. Aries and Leo. One is ahead of their time, the other leads the crowd. One lives for the collective, the other lives to shine. Aquarius and Leo, who seem like they could never align, are in fact one of the most impactful pairings when they know how to combine their strengths. Why? because one sees what no one else dares to imagine, and the other has the charisma and confidence to make others believe in it. Aquarius is the type who dares to ask, "Why are we still doing things like everyone else?" And Leo will respond, "Then let me lead the new way." In astrology, they sit opposite each other, which means they're prone to friction. But when they walk side by side, they spark movements. One is the brain, the other the heart. One dreams of a different world, the other dares to bring that world into reality. In work, they're the duo of startups, of bold projects, of visionary thinking. Aquarius excels at designing revolutionary frameworks, while Leo knows how to build the image, the brand, and draw a crowd to follow. If one gets lost in the clouds of imagination, the other grounds them in the now. If one gets too caught up on stage, the other reminds them the audience deserves to be heard too. This balance keeps them from tilting too far and lets them grow side. In love, theirs is not the sweet, traditional kind, but one that's endlessly inspiring. Leo needs to feel important. Aquarius needs to feel free. It sounds contradictory, but if they understand each other, they become each other's liberation. Leo softens Aquarius, and Aquarius teaches Leo that real worth doesn't come from admiration, but from being seen, understood, and co-creating something meaningful. Here's an example. An Aquarius once said they were the kind who prefers solitude, living more in their mind than out in the world, but their partner, a Leo, was the exact opposite. Highly social, present at every event, and yet every time the Aquarius brought up a wild idea, like starting an emotional healing art class, Leo didn't laugh or ask, "Who would even come?" Instead, they simply said, "I love that. Let me help you make it go viral." Aquarius recalled, "For the first time in my life, I felt like someone believed in something I hadn't even fully believed in myself." In 2025, as Pluto begins to strongly influence Aquarius, and the Sun, Leo's ruler, continues to hold powerful energy, pairings that sit across from each other on the zodiac wheel are being elevated. This is a time when relationships can become impactful, not just in love, but in areas like community, art, education, and technology. If you're a Leo, try sitting quietly for a moment, listening to the faraway things an Aquarius shares through their distant gaze. You might not understand it all, but you'll feel the yearning in that soul. And if you're an Aquarius, don't assume Leo just wants the spotlight. They shine, yes, but not only to be seen, also to let you stand beside a light you don't have to create all by yourself. Have you ever met someone who made you want to step into something bigger than yourself? Someone who made you leave your comfort zone, not because you were pushed, but because you truly wanted to walk that path with them? If so, don't let that person pass through your life without realizing they were your Leo or your Aquarius. This is not love that clings. This is love that lets you fly. Taurus and Libra. One craves security. The other is always in search of beauty. One chooses lasting values. The other moves toward harmony. Taurus and Libra, who seem to walk two very different paths, are, in fact, ruled by the same planet, Venus, the planet of love, art, and life's deeper values. And that's why, when they meet, they often find a kind of resonance that's difficult to put into words. Taurus loves through certainty. Libra loves through gentleness. Taurus is the one tidying the house, planning the budget, and cooking every day. Libra arranges the flowers, adjusts the lighting, and plays music that matches the mood. One lays the foundation, the other colors the space. When they're together, they don't need to say much. Taurus simply works in silence, and Libra quietly tends to the details, and somehow, a small home turns into a whole world. At work, this is a duo with both taste and discipline. Libra comes up with the presentation, the story, the emotional hook. Taurus keeps everything grounded, within budget, within value, within reason. They're the kind of partners who keep the project from floating too high or falling too flat. One figures out how to make the product beautiful. The other makes sure the product truly matters. In love, they're the couple of patience and quiet refinement. Taurus doesn't rush in, but once in love, they stay loyal. Libra may hesitate at first, but once they feel just enough harmony, they'll nurture the relationship through the smallest things, a look, a gesture, a gentle act of compromise. Here's a very simple example. You're a Libra, and every time you go out to eat, you struggle to decide. You want to try everything, but can't settle on one choice. Taurus watches you for a few seconds, then quietly orders one savory dish, one vegetarian option, and your favorite drink. You're surprised, but also deeply at peace. Libra later says, "When others saw my indecision as a flaw, Taurus saw it as something to care for." Taurus? They just smiled and said, "I chose because I know you always pick what's most beautiful for both of us." And did you know? 2025 is a year the world leans toward healing and reimagining its core values. As Venus moves through more emotionally sensitive regions of the zodiac, couples like Taurus and Libra, who represent aesthetics, sustainability, and grounded creation, will receive even greater support. They don't try too hard, don't speak too much, don't burst with drama, but quietly they create prosperity, both emotionally and materially. If you're a Taurus, allow your heart to soften a little when walking beside someone like Libra. They may not be great at planning, but they know how to make everything feel alive and worth living. And if you're a Libra, let Taurus show you how to pause, how to root yourself in something truly enduring. Because you don't need to chase more beauty somewhere else sometimes. All you need is a safe enough place to paint your dream upon. Have you ever met someone who made you feel, "I don't need to try harder, being right here is enough"? If so, share that story with me. Because people like that, they don't make a lot of noise, but they tend to stay for a very long time. Sagittarius and Pisces. One looks toward the horizon, the other looks deep within. One seeks truth, the other lives in dreams. Sagittarius and Pisces, often seen as the two most abstract signs of the zodiac, when combined, create a very unique kind of intelligence. A wisdom born from trust, from vision, and from the courage to step into places no one else dares to name. Both are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion, growth, and life philosophy. But Sagittarius expands through action, by traveling, exploring, learning. Pisces expands through emotion, by feeling, connecting, and healing. When they walk together, one is the light that shines ahead, the other is the emotional map that keeps them from getting lost. They're not alike, but they resonate at a depth few others can reach. In life, they are a deeply inspiring pair. They might plan to teach English in Nepal, open a healing cafe in Bali, then return to Paris to record a podcast about classical philosophy and psychology. People around them might ask, how do these two even make a living? But strangely enough, they do. Not only do they live meaningfully. Sagittarius teaches Pisces to believe in themselves, to know they don't need to be 100% right to have the right to express how they feel. Pisces teaches Sagittarius to slow down, that not every journey needs to go far. Some only require closing your eyes and turning inward. In love, this is a relationship that feels free, but never disconnected. They give each other space, but still show up when it matters. They don't hold on with jealousy, but with empathy, and the kind of trust that says, we don't need to control each other, because our souls have already chosen to stay. There's a story like this. A Sagittarius shared that during a creative writing workshop, they met someone who barely spoke, but when they did, the entire room fell silent. That person was a Pisces. A few weeks later, Pisces sent an email. I don't know if we're headed toward the same destination, but I believe if we go together, we won't lose ourselves along the way. The Sagittarius said, I always thought I'd fall for someone strong. I never expected that the one who made me slow down would be the one with the saddest eyes I've ever seen. In 2025, as Jupiter moves through Taurus and prepares to enter Gemini, while Neptune continues its stay in Pisces stone, dreams will begin to take shape in reality. And Sagittarius plus Pisces is the embodiment of that. People who don't just talk about their dreams, they live in them and try to make them tangible. If you're a Pisces, don't fear someone as logical as Sagittarius. They may not say, "I love you" every day, but they'll take you far, and they'll be right beside you whenever you fall. And if you're a Sagittarius, don't be afraid of Pisces' softness. Sometimes, they're the only one who can read the loneliness you've never admitted out loud. Have you ever met someone who made you dare to dream again after so many times you wanted to give up? If you have, hold on to him. Because in this world, souls who give you both freedom and healing are as rare as magic itself. You know, intelligence doesn't always come from books, experiences, or individual effort. Sometimes it arrives so gently through someone who makes you think differently, feel differently, and live differently. There are pairs of souls born to help each other grow, not by forcing change, but by quietly awakening the best parts hidden within one another. There are people who help you focus, people who make you dream again, people who make you see the world more clearly. And then there are those who lead you into a world you never dared to enter on your own. If after this video you suddenly think of someone who made you smarter, more aware, or simply feel like you've evolved just by being beside them, hold on to that person. And if you haven't met them yet, don't worry. Maybe this video is just the universe's soft reminder that the right person is already on their way. What's your zodiac sign? And have you ever met the other half of your mind? Tell me about it in the comments. Who knows, maybe someone else is watching this video too, waiting for your answer. And if you'd like me to cover another topic, something like which zodiac pairs understand each other most in silence, which couple is most likely to succeed in a startup together, or which sign is your biggest troublemaker in love, just write it down. Who knows, the next video I make might be the one inspired by you.